Is this the first time you've had a physical relationship with a student?
This is the third time that I've been with him.
We have new, never-before-seen footage of the interrogation of an Indiana school secretary after she was allegedly caught by her husband sleeping with an 18-year-old student. But that is just the tip of the iceberg in this shocking story.
Have you had sex with any other students?
Oh, no.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Police say a 17-year-old student came forward as well, claiming that he had a sexual relationship with this secretary just months before.
And how did it all start?
I think I'm over here at this point.
Stand up, turn around, hands on your back.
We have the latest on this disturbing situation as 31-year-old Alicia Hughes sits in jail and a small-town community continues to search for answers, as well as a distraught husband now decides to allegedly move on. We're on the case presented by Law&Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. We've been following this story pretty closely this week out of tiny Randolph County, Indiana. 31-year-old Alicia Hughes is now facing 5 counts of child seduction for allegedly sleeping with a 17-year-old student over a weeks-long period. We just showed you that snippet there of that newly released interrogation video where Hughes is sitting with a Randolph County investigator, and we'll be exploring the rest of that interview together. But we do have to acknowledge that this arrest did not happen right away. In fact, when police arrived at Hughes's home earlier that same day, which was Valentine's Day, by the way, it was for a completely different reason. So we're going to revisit how we got to this point. And there's a lot to unpack here as we break down what we know about this situation as it continues to develop. Now, in the overnight hours of Valentine's Day, Saturday, February 14th, the Union City Police Department is notified of an alleged battery involving 31-year-old Alicia Hughes and her husband. They share 3 young boys together. Now, when officers arrived on scene, they learned that just hours prior, Hughes's husband walked in on her, allegedly having sex with a teenager. He was 18 years old, but he was also a student at the public school where she works as a secretary. Police say Hughes's husband confronted the pair and things allegedly got violent. During the alleged altercation, Alicia Hughes was reportedly beaten. Now, what makes this situation even worse is that 18-year-old man allegedly involved is actually a student at Randolph Eastern School Corporation. That's the same nearby public school district where Hughes is working as an attendance secretary. And at this point, Hughes's husband allegedly endures the heartbreak of his life just before Valentine's Day. And now you have a battery investigation that is actively underway, we are told, by the Randolph County Sheriff's Department. Now, cheating allegations of this nature, they are shocking, they're heartbreaking. There frankly is no excuse for it. But then you think about who she was allegedly doing it with, a student who is a teenager but is 18 years old. So at that point, charges were not filed against Hughes because that student was 18 years old and legally was an adult. But that is not where the story ends. And frankly, when it comes to the criminal investigation, it was just beginning, because later that same day, a probable cause affidavit revealed that a follow-up investigation was requested on a complaint of child seduction, which in Indiana law means that an adult in authority had sexual contact with a minor. The affidavit says an interview was then conducted at the Union City Police Department with a 17-year-old male victim. Now, here's how a Randolph County investigator described the interview in the court document, quote, JV1, juvenile victim 1, stated that he's a senior at Union City Junior-Senior High School. He advised September 2025 he had called the school to report himself absent. The Union City Junior-Senior High School attendance secretary, Alicia Hughes, is who JV1 stated he spoke with that day. JV1 stated that shortly after reporting himself as absent with Hughes, he received a text message from an unknown number accusing JV1 of not really being sick. JV1 discovered this was the personal cell number of Hughes. Now, the affidavit continues to go into more detail about Hughes's alleged relationship with the 17-year-old student. It says, quote, JV1 stated that the communication between him and Hughes was just a regular conversation. The two met in the Union City Harder Park and just had normal conversations. JV1 stated that the conversation changed to a sexual nature in late September or early October. JV1 stated he had met Hughes at the Union City Dollar General store. JV1 stated Hughes was wearing a dress and entered his vehicle, straddling him while he was seated in the driver's seat. JV1 undid his pants, and the two had sexual intercourse for the first time. I want you to remember that part about Dollar General and the parking lot, because that will come up here in a little bit when we start to dive into this shocking interrogation video that we have acquired. JV1 stated that he and Hughes had sexual intercourse 4 additional times. That would bring the number to 5. Important when you think of the charges here that Hughes is facing. Once in Hughes's residence, once in JV1's car on the street in front of Hughes's residence, and twice in Harder Park near the soccer field. JV1 stated he ended the sexual relationship around the first week of November. So this went from September of last year to November of last year. All of the sexual encounters occurred within the Union City, Indiana city limits. Now, that student reportedly attends that same school that Hughes works at as a secretary. The whole situation allegedly leads to this violent altercation that leaves Hughes allegedly beaten. But again, no charges have been filed as of yet. We have just been told an investigation into that part of the story is ongoing. Now, an investigator learns that Hughes not only allegedly had sex with one high school student, but 2, and that second student, who Hughes allegedly had sex with on at least 5 occasions, is a minor. And according to Indiana law, 16 years old, that is the legal age of consent. But in this situation, it is illegal for an adult in a position of authority to have sexual contact with anyone under the age of 18. And a school secretary falls under that category. Now, it's still February 14th. Now, later in the afternoon, it's around 4:17, and Hughes herself arrives at the Union City Police Department for an interview. And here is how it started.
Out of all the having to tell one of the most respected people I look at and that I love as a friend and a colleague and someone that has heard a lot of my life issues with my husband. That was a very hard thing I had to tell him. I said, like, my base is very bad and I need a meeting with you and Keith and I need to resign. And he said, I know. And he's like, we're going to figure it out. You're going to be strong. It's going to be okay. I'll do my job. I have to write up and figure out my end of things. And we'll be in contact and go from there. And I said, I never meant to be a horrible person. Like, I never meant for it to be like that. And it's no justifying it. But I've been just so beat up and mentally and physically abused by Bailey for so long, and that attention was there. And as stupid as that sounds, I don't know. And that's where I'm at. And now we're here.
Now, the interrogation footage, it's tough to decipher at times just because the audio where the microphone must have been in the room, but Hughes appears to begin the interview explaining that she confided in this 18-year-old student that she was allegedly caught sleeping with, telling him about her marital problems, and she said that she needed to resign from the school. She claims that the student reassured her everything would work out. She then tells the investigator that while there's no justifying her actions, she claims that she was physically and mentally abused by her husband. We have not heard his side of the story. Now, I want to continue on with the interview. Listen to this.
So this was going on since December?
Yeah, but a physical thing hasn't been going on since maybe end of January, something like that.
Is this the first time you've had a physical relationship with a student?
This is the 3rd time that I've been with him. Not before he was 18. This is the 3rd time I've physically been with him.
31-year-old Alicia Hughes says that she was allegedly in sexual contact with the 18-year-old student 3 times since January. Now, this in itself is not criminal, but there's no denying it is disturbing. And it always stands out to me in situations like this, where it seems almost unclear whether she knows the amount of trouble that she's in because she is just so conversational and relaxed as she's talking to this member of law enforcement. Now, here is where the investigator brings up the allegations made by the 17-year-old student that came into the station earlier that day.
Have you had sex with any other students?
Oh, no.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
The name of that 17-year-old was likely redacted from the interview because he's legally a minor, but Hughes then begins to explain her alleged interactions with him.
I have met with him, but wasn't sleeping with him. I wasn't having like an affair with how emotional it was.
Did you ever send him pictures?
Yes.
But you've never had sex with him?
No.
Never met him at dollar store parking lot?
Yes, I have met him, but I never slept with him.
So what did you do?
I just talked to him, I hung out with him. Not for very long.
Okay. So how long did that last?
Maybe a couple months of life, but like after school started, I don't even remember exactly, probably September to October, November.
And how did it all start?
I think I'm over here at this point.
Maybe at this point, this is where Hughes realizes she could have some very serious legal problems because she tells the investigator that she didn't have sex with the 17-year-old student, but she did admit to allegedly sending him photos and meeting up with him over a weeks-long period. I think this could be important looking at this case going on because of the nature of those photos, whether law enforcement has them, if they're able to extract them from the cell phone of the 17-year-old or from Hughes herself. That could mean some more serious charges added to what she is already facing, potentially including CSAM, child sex abuse material, but we'll see how that part of the story plays out in the days and weeks to come. Now, back to the interrogation video. When the investigator asked how their interactions began, Hughes said she needed a lawyer. And at this point, the investigator had heard enough.
You are under arrest for 5 counts of child seduction. Stand up, turn around, hands on your back.
I did just have surgery here. I'm just letting you know.
You know.
Okay. I didn't think it really hurt. Ow, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
My hand was just like, it didn't hurt, it just like was twisted the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Can someone call my mom to get my son? He's at a friend's house, right next door to, like 2 houses down from my house.
We can try to call, complex about it.
Yeah, my mom was also affected if you could. Can I do both?
Good?
Yes. I just couldn't figure out how to.
All right. Just sit down for me. And I'm sure I'll be right back, okay?
Yeah.
Hughes has just been arrested on 5 counts of child endangerment related to 5 occasions that she allegedly had sex with the 17-year-old student. Now, one thing we noticed after the investigator walks out of the room, we're watching Hughes here, and it just appears as she's sitting alone, really just her and her thoughts, right? She's wiggling a bit in her seat, and you just have to wonder, is that because the handcuffs are uncomfortable? Is she trying to get out of those handcuffs? We don't know. Now, here's what we do know from the legal side. Hughes was booked into the Randolph County Jail on a $25,000 cash bond, according to the case's court docket. Hughes's initial hearing for February 20th was canceled, but the court found probable cause for her charges. The next hearing is set for April 16th to address pretrial motions. Looking ahead, a pretrial conference was scheduled for May 7th, and a jury trial has been scheduled for June 15th. A no-contact order was issued by a judge on February 18th, including on the condition of pretrial release, though there is no indication that she has been released from jail. Also new on the docket, a divorce case that was brought by her husband on Wednesday. It is included in the docket a petition for the dissolution of marriage, along with a petition for emergency custody of their 3 children. And in these cases, you have to always think about the kids and the impact that stories like this and the alleged actions of a parent will have on them for a long time, no matter how this case plays out and whether there is prison time, but we certainly have a long way to go. As of now, a hearing on the provisional order and petition for emergency child custody will take place on Thursday, March 3rd. Now, this case, it involves heartbreak on all sides. You have a husband who is picking up the pieces of a now broken family, and he's still the subject of an open battery investigation, though no charges have been filed at this moment. Then, as mentioned previously, Hughes was booked on 5 counts of child seduction in Indiana. An adult in a position of authority having sexual intercourse with a 17-year-old is considered a level 5 felony. On each count, she could face 1 to 6 years in prison with a fine of up to $10,000. Indiana's separate sex offender registration statute also requires registration for qualifying convictions, including child seduction, which could impact Hughes in everyday life for a long, long time. One of the biggest questions, as always in a case like this, is how? How does someone in this situation, an administrative employee, end up getting into intimate contact with 2 students? Even if the 18-year-old is a legal adult, it is still disturbing. The school district superintendent released a statement following Hughes' arrest. This is what the superintendent said, quote, Randolph Eastern School Corporation is aware of the arrest of a district employee following a law enforcement investigation into allegations involving inappropriate conduct with a student. The employee has been removed from all duties with students pending the outcome of the legal process. Student safety and our well-being remain our highest priority. RESC takes all allegations involving students extremely seriously. Upon becoming aware of concerns, the corporation fully cooperated with law enforcement and will continue to do so as the investigation proceeds. We appreciate the professionalism and diligence of local authorities in handling this matter. Because this is an active criminal investigation and to protect the privacy of students and the integrity of the process, RESC will not comment further on specific details at this time. We will continue to follow all legal and personnel procedures required under state law and board policy. We recognize that situations of this nature are deeply concerning for our families, staff, and the broader community. Please know that we share those concerns and are taking this matter with the utmost seriousness, care, and urgency. Our focus remains on supporting our students and maintaining a safe, respectful, and supportive learning environment for all students. Now, there is a lot more to learn in this case, and we will be right here following it along. That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law&Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify, and now we're streaming on Peacock. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.